Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is your science teacher here, and this time I am here with a brand new chapter of NCERT grade 8, that is reproduction in animals. Students, as you all know that there are several processes that goes hand in hand in our body, such as circulation of blood, digestion and respirations and many others. And students, all these processes are essential for the survival of not only human beings, in fact other animals too. And similarly, like all these processes, reproduction is also essential to maintain the continuity of species on earth. And students, if this process means reproduction in animals doesn't take place, then no similar kind of organism will be present on the earth of the generation. So, like all other processes, reproduction is also essential for human beings as well as animals too. So, students, we can say that reproduction is the biological process by which new individual organisms, means to say offsprings, are produced from their parents, and it is a fundamental feature of all the known life that exists on earth. But students, in your this chapter means reproduction in animals, we are going to learn the reproduction mainly in human beings. So let's start. Students, there are different mode of reproduction in animals, and these different mode of reproductions are basically categorized into two broad categories, that are sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. As the first one is asexual reproduction. Students, this asexual reproduction is that mode of reproduction in which the new offspring arise from a single parent, and the offsprings that arise from a single parent are identical to each other, both physically as well as genetically. Or we can say that the offsprings are the exact copies of their parent cell. And students, this kind of asexual reproduction is observed in both unicellular as well as multicellular organisms. For example, like in Hydra. Now students, the another mode of reproduction is sexual reproduction. Students, this mode of reproduction means to say sexual reproduction is a natural way of reproduction in humans, animals, and in fact the majority of plant also choose this mode of reproduction. And students, in this mode of reproduction, two parents are involved to give rise to an offspring, and this type of reproduction is more complex and lengthy as compared to asexual reproduction. And the important feature of asexual reproduction that differ it from asexual reproduction is that in sexual reproduction the male and the females have different reproductive parts, or we can say organs. And students, these organs or the reproductive parts produce the male and the female gametes that fuse together to form the offspring and the genetic information from both parents. For example, in humans. Now students, as I said earlier in the beginning of this chapter, that in this chapter we are going to learn and discuss the reproduction mainly in case of humans. So let's start to discuss that how it goes on in humans. sexual reproduction. Students, as we discussed that the sexual reproduction is that type of reproduction that begins with the fusion of male and female gametes, and that's why this process is known as sexual reproduction. And students, if you remember, we also discussed in the earlier slide that in sexual reproduction there are different reproductive parts or organs in male as well as female. So firstly, let's start in the case of male. Students, the male reproductive system provides the sperm, that is the male gametes, for fertilization, and the male reproductive organs include testes, scrotum, penis, epididymis, corpus gland, prostate gland, seminal vesicle, sperm duct, urinary bladder, urethra, etc. Now students, let's discuss each part elaborately. Students, the first main reproductive part of male reproductive system is penis. Students, penis is a cylinder shaped organ containing a small opening at its top. Over here is a small opening that secrete semen, which contains the male gametes or sperm. Students, this penis is that male organ that is generally used for urination as well as for sexual intercourse. And students, this penis is just located above the scrotum. This one over here is the scrotum, and the penis is just located above it. And students, this penis is generally made up of spongy tissues and blood vessels. Now students, the next important part of male reproductive organ is scrotum. This one here. Students, this scrotum is a sac-like, or we can say a bag-like or pouch-like structure that is present just behind the penis. And students, in this scrotum, the testicles or the testes are present. And students, this scrotum provides the testicles the right temperature so that they can produce sperms. And students, this scrotum hangs outside the body, and as I said, this is because it needs to maintain a slightly lower temperature than the rest of our body. And students, this lower temperature helps to maintain the sperm production in the testes present in the scrotum. Now students, the next important organ is testes. Students, as we discussed in the earlier slide that this testis also known as testicles, and generally these are two oval shaped organs in the male reproductive system. As you can see here, these are two in number and they are contained in a sac-like or a bag-like structure called the scrotum. And students, these testes consist of coiled tube-like structures. As you can see here, these tube-like structure that generally produce sperms. And students, the testes also generate the male sex hormone, that is the testosterone. And students, this testosterone causes puberty in male. Now, the next important organ is urethra. This one over here is the urethra. Students, this urethra is a tube-like structure as you can see here, and it allows the flow of semen during the time of sexual intercourse, and this semen contains sperm that is generally ejaculated by the penis during the sexual intercourse. And students, as I said earlier, that this urethra and this penis both are also a part of the male urinary system. Means to say, this single organ penis is used for urination as well as sexual intercourse. Now students, the next important organ is vas deferens. This one over here. Students, this vas deferens is a long tube-like structure. This one here. And this tube-like structure, means to say vas deferens, carry sperms from the testicles to the urethra. Now students, the next important organ is prostate gland. Students, before moving on further, it is important for all of you to understand that what is gland. Students, a gland is an organ which produces and releases some certain kind of substances that perform a specific function in the body. So, there is one such gland in a male reproductive system, and that is the prostate gland. And students, this prostate gland is located under the urinary bladder of male reproductive system. And this prostate gland secrete a certain kind of prostate fluid which makes 1/3 content of the semen. And students, this prostate fluid contains some enzymes, zinc and citric acid. Now students, the next important organ of male reproductive system is seminal vesicles. As you can see here, this one is the seminal vesicle. Students, these seminal vesicles have a pouch-like or bag-like structure, and they are just located above the prostate gland and connect with the vas deferens. And like prostate gland, this seminal vesicle also secrete a certain kind of fluid that provide nourishment to the sperms. Now students, the next one is male sex hormone or testosterone. Students, as I said earlier, that the testes secretes the male sex hormone, that is testosterone. And students, this testosterone is controlled by the pituitary gland of our body. Means to say, this pituitary gland controls that how much testosterone will be produced by the testicles. And as I said earlier, that this testosterone causes puberty in male. Means to say, this hormone responsible for the development of male sex hormones and development of secondary sexual characters in male during puberty, like the deepening of voice, growth of facial and body hair. Now, the next one is the sperm cell. The testes secrete millions of sperm cells together, and students, a single sperm cell is somewhat look like in this way. And this single sperm cell has three main parts: tail, middle piece and head. Students, this head or this head part of a single sperm cell contains nucleus, which contains the DNA information of the cell. Means to say, this is the main part of a sperm cell that carries the genetic information of a cell. Now students, the second middle part of a sperm is known as middle piece. And students, this middle piece packed with a cell organelles called mitochondria. And students, as you all know, that mitochondria is also known as the powerhouse of the cell. So this mitochondria is responsible for producing the energy in the cell. Means to say, sperm cell. And hence this sperm uses this energy to move. Now students, The third and the final part of a single sperm cell is its tail. Students, this tail provides or allows the sperm cell at a fast pace. Means to say, this tail helps a sperm cell to travel faster. Students, that's all about your male reproductive parts or organs. Now move on towards the female reproductive organs. Students, the female reproductive organ or the female reproductive system provides the eggs, that is the female gametes, for fertilization. And students, generally the female reproductive organs includes the vagina, the cervical canal, the cervix, one pair of testes, fallopian tube, uterine fundus, uterine cavity, and many more. Now, let's discuss each and every reproductive system of female elaborately. One, the first important organ of female reproductive system are ovaries. Students, as I said earlier, that there is one pair of ovaries in female reproductive system. And students, these ovaries are the main female sex organ that are responsible for the production of the female gametes, that are ova or eggs, and the female hormones, that is the progesterone. And students, this ova or the female eggs also consist of a single cell. Students, as I said, these ovaries are the main female sex organ that are responsible for the production of female hormones also. And students, these female hormones are estrogen and progesterone. And students, these female hormones estrogen and progesterone are responsible for the development of the female reproductive organs as well as the secondary sexual characteristics in women like development of breast and body hair. Now students, the second important organ of female reproductive system is oviduct or fallopian tubes. Students, these oviduct or fallopian tubes are two funnel shaped structure as you can see here. These are the oviduct or the fallopian tubes that are generally funnel shaped structures. And students, these fallopian tube extend from the superior right and the left corners of the uterus as you can see here in this image. And students, the ovaries that you see here releases one egg every month in this oviduct or fallopian tube. And students, this oviduct or fallopian tube consists of cilia that carry the ovum from the oviduct to the uterus. Now students, the next important organ is uterus. Students, this uterus is an inverted pear-shaped organ that allows the development of the fertilized egg into a human baby. And students, this uterus is generally connects with an opening called the cervix that connects it to the vagina. Now students, the next important organ of female reproductive system is vagina. This one over here. Students, this vagina is generally a muscular tube-like structure that connects with the cervix. And students, this is the organ which acts as a receptor penis of the male reproductive system during the sexual intercourse. And students, this vagina also allows the movement of the sperms that are generally ejaculated by the penis in the vagina during the sexual intercourse to the fallopian tubes and uterus. And students, this vagina also allows the delivery of the fetus during the birth of the child. Now students, there is an important process that goes on in female body during the time of puberty, and that is the menstrual cycle. Students, as I said earlier, that when females hit puberty, means to say towards the reproductive age, then they start producing mature eggs every month. And students, this indicate that now the female body is able to reproduce. And students, this process in females is known as the menstrual cycle. And students, in this menstrual cycle, the ovaries produce an egg every month. And students, this egg then travels from the ovary through the fallopian tube to the uterus and then attaches to the lining of this uterus. And students, here in uterus, if the egg or the ova is not fertilized, then the uterus shed its lining and the egg, which result in bleeding in the females. And students, on an average, we can say that the duration of a menstrual cycle is about 28 days. Means to say, this menstrual cycle repeat itself after 28 days. And students, the cycle starts at puberty, means to say at around the age of 10 or 11 years, and it lasts until the age of 45 to 55 years in female. Students, the first menstrual cycle or first menstrual bleeding in female is termed as menarche, whereas the end of a woman's menstrual cycle is termed as menopause, means to say after the age of 45 to 50 years, women lose the ability to bear child, and this stage is known as menopause. Students, that's all about your female reproductive organs. Now let's proceed the chapter further. Now students, the next important topic of your this chapter is gametogenesis. Students, gametogenesis is the process of production of gametes by the both male and female primary reproductive organs. And students, this production of gametes involves three phases in both male and females, and that are the multiplication phase, growth or maturation phase, and meiotic phase. Students, the production of gametes in males is known as spermatogenesis. And students, as we discussed earlier, that it occurs in the testes and it results in the formation of sperm cells in males. Or whereas the production of gametes in females is termed as oogenesis. It occurs in the ovaries and results in production of female eggs or ova. Now students, the next important topic of your this chapter is fertilization. Students, this fertilization is that process in reproduction in animals that begins when the sperm fuses with an ovum, and when the sperm fuses with an ovum, as you can see here, this sperm fuses with this female gamete, means to say ova. Then after the fusion of the sperm with the ova, the nucleus of the sperm and the egg, means to say the ova, are combined together to form a single nucleus, as you can see here. And students, when both the nucleus fuse together, then the zygote is formed. And students, since the zygote is the formation of the fusion of both the types of the gametes, that are male and female, and hence the new individual possess the characteristic of both the parents. Now students, do you know that fertilization can be of two types, that are internal fertilization and external fertilization. Students, this internal fertilization is that type of fertilization that take place inside the female body, and hence it is known as internal fertilization. Whereas the fertilization that take place outside the female body is known as external fertilization. Students, in internal fertilization, less number of eggs, or we can say less number of gametes, are produced by the females because there are high chances of the survival of the offspring. But students, in case of external fertilization, a large number of eggs are produced by the females because there are less chances of survival of the offsprings. And students, this internal fertilization is generally take place in cow, human beings and hens also. Whereas this external fertilization is generally take place in aquatic animals like fishes and in amphibians like frogs. Now students, let's understand some few examples that how this external fertilization take place. So the first, in the case of the frogs and toads. Students, as you all know that the frogs and the toads reproduce by laying eggs. Students, generally they lay eggs in a slow stream or ponds. So first of all, the female frogs and the female toads lay hundred of eggs together in the water. And students, do you know that these eggs that are laid by the frogs are not covered with any hard shell. Instead, there is a jelly-like substances just outside the eggs that guards them and hold them together. And students, then once the female frogs lay their eggs, then the male frogs deposit the sperm over these eggs. And students, that's how this result in external fertilization, when the sperms comes in contact with the eggs in the water. And students, as I said earlier, that there is less chances of the eggs to fertile or to survive. So only a few of the eggs manage to survive. And students, do you know why this happened? Because there are many factors that hinder the external fertilization process, such as the exposing to water movement, rainfall, winds and other animals too. Now students, let's understand the internal fertilization in case of hens. Students, as you all know that hens reproduce by laying eggs. And students, after the formation of the zygote, means to say after the fusion of the male and the female gamete, it keeps on dividing itself and then travels through the oviduct. And students, during this whole process, different layers are formed over the egg that turns into a hard shell or the covering of the egg that you generally observe the white color shell just outside the yolk. And students, once this hard shell is formed, then the hen lays the eggs. And students, this whole process almost takes about 3 weeks for the embryo to develop into a chick. And students, do you know, during this whole time period, means to say of about 3 weeks, the hen often sits over the eggs in order to provide it warmth. Students, this period is known as incubation period. Means to say that this period of 3 weeks or 21 days is known as the incubation period. Students, have you ever heard about the test tube babies? If no, then let's discuss that what are test tube babies. Students, in some women, the oviducts or the fallopian tubes are blocked, and hence these kind of women are unable to hold the eggs. This means that these women are not able to bear babies just because of this blocked oviducts or fallopian tubes. But students, due to the process of in vitro fertilization, means to say IVF, the freshly released eggs of the females and the freshly male sperms can be fertilized externally. And students, then the zygote that is formed after the fusion of the male and the female gamete externally is allowed to develop for a week outside the female body in safe conditions. And students, then after a week the zygote is placed in the woman's uterus. And students, in this way such kind of women can bear babies. And students, the babies that are born with this method, means to say in vitro fertilization process, are known as test tube babies. Now students, let's understand that how the embryo develop. Students, as I said earlier, that when once the male and the female gamete fuse together, then they form the zygote. And students, during this process of fertilization, this zygote divides itself into a repeated manners and form a ball of cells, as you can see here. And students, then these cells form different groups, and each group then starts developing into different tissues and organs. And students, once the zygote develops into different tissues and organs, then it is known as an embryo. And students, then after the formation of the embryo embeds itself into the uterus wall and continue to develop and grow. And the students, then very soon the body parts such as hands, legs, feet, eyes and ears start developing. And students, then once the embryo, whose each and every part can be identified individually, is termed as a fetus. And then the fetus completely develops and takes birth as a baby. Students, as you all know that every young one develops into an adult, but this process of turning into adults from the young ones is different in different organisms. And as these individuals are born, they continue to grow until they turn into adults. And students, the young ones may or may not look like the same when they become adults, as in the case of frogs and silkworms. The adults and the young ones are completely different, as you can see here. At the tadpole stage, the frog is look like in this way, whereas in the froglet it bears a tail-like structure, whereas when it turns into an adult, the tail is disappear. So that's how the adults and the young ones in case of frogs and silkworms are completely different. And students, do you know what do we call this process? Students, this process is termed as metamorphosis. Now students, let's understand that what is metamorphosis. Students, this metamorphosis is the process in which the young ones undergo drastic changes as they develop into an adult. Students, human beings do not undergo metamorphosis because the body parts of the human beings remain the same from the childhood to adulthood. This can be happen only in the case of frogs, silkworms and other insects. Now students, the another mode of reproduction in animals is asexual reproduction. Students, as we discussed earlier at the starting of this chapter, that this type of reproduction involves only one parent. And students, this type of reproduction is generally take place in microscopic animals like amoeba and small animals like the hydra. Now students, let's learn and discuss that how this asexual reproduction take place in case of hydra. Students, just like the other microorganism, for example like yeast, reproduction in hydra also take place through the same process called budding. Students, this hydra generally possesses different bulges on itself called buds, as you can see here. This one over here, this is called the bud. And students, then these buds develop into an individual hydra, as you can see here. Firstly, the tiny bumps appears on the hydra, as you can see here, this one over here. Then the parent hydra develops buds. Then slowly and gradually the buds grow. And students, then once the buds develops fully, then it breaks off to become independent hydra. And that's how the hydra reproduce. Now students, let's understand the asexual reproduction in case of amoeba. Students, the asexual reproduction in amoeba take place by the binary fission method. Students, in this binary fission method, the amoeba divides itself into two individuals, as you can see here, these two individuals. Students, a parent amoeba consists of only one cell, as you can see here. And once the parent amoeba reproduces, then it divides its nucleus and forms two different nuclei, as you can see here. And once a single nuclei divides into two, then the division of the amoeba take place, as you can see here. And students, then each part receives one nucleus, as you can see here. And students, that's how a single amoeba divides itself into two daughter cells. Now students, the another mode of asexual reproduction are fragmentation and regeneration. Students, in some type of organisms, the parent organism divides itself into different fragments, where each fragment then regenerate and develops into a new organism, as you can see here in the case of a planaria. Students, this planaria divides itself into three different parts. Then each part develops into a new individual, as you can see here. And that's how this planaria reproduce itself by the fragmentation and regeneration method. And students, this mode of asexual reproduction, means to say fragmentation and regeneration, also take place in starfish. And students, do you know that starfishes are also capable of sexual reproduction, but many times starfish reproduce itself by asexually also by the process of fragmentation. Students, based on the way that how the organism give birth to their offspring, means to say their babies, they are classified into two different categories, that are viviparous and oviparous. Students, viviparous are those kind of organisms that give birth to their young ones directly, like for example human beings, dogs, cattle, cats, etc. Whereas oviparous are those kind of organisms that reproduce by laying eggs. For example, fishes, reptiles, amphibians, etc. Now students, let's discuss that how is an embryo different from a zygote. Students, as we discussed earlier, that a zygote consists of a single cell, means to say after the fusion of a male and a female gamete, it turns into a single cell, whereas an embryo consists of more than one cell. Students, as I said, that zygote is formed as the fertilization process occurs, whereas the embryo is formed after the fertilization process. Students, in zygote stage, it has no well-defined organs or tissues, whereas at embryo stage, the body parts and the tissues are well-defined. Means to say, we can easily differentiate or identify the different parts of an embryo. Now students, this one is the last topic of this chapter, and that is parthenogenesis. Students, parthenogenesis is a type of asexual reproduction, and students, in this process of parthenogenesis, the female organisms are capable of producing eggs without fertilization, and students, then these eggs develops into a new organism. And students, generally this kind of fertilization, means to say parthenogenesis, can be seen in some fishes like sharks, in some birds, in reptiles like lizards, and a few other insects. But students, this parthenogenesis cannot be seen or observed in mammals. Now students, that's all about your chapter number 9, and with this topic here, your chapter number 9 is completed. Now I will be come back soon with another chapter. Till then, stay home, stay safe and stay healthy.